Hello guys, welcome to a new video. Well, it's been a crazy week. We've seen Bitcoin rise by like more than 10k to over 90k. We're really nearing in on this six-figure mark. We've seen altcoins doing crazy moves. Dogecoin went like 2, 3x in the past 1 or 2 weeks. Even things like XRP are running. Solana is almost at all-time high, but we're gonna head into all those and a few others which you guys suggested in my public Telegram group, which you can just join. It's in the description, so there's nothing like a paywall or whatever, and there's not gonna be anything there. So if you want to chat with me or the community members and just talk markets, feel free to join. All right, having said that, I don't have much to say about Bitcoin. My base case has been, like all this time, that whenever we'd break out of this range or whatever you want to call it, consolidation, we'd probably stall out between like 85 and 95k, then gain some fuel or like chop around for a bit as alts catch up, and then we'll gain some fuel and try to go for that 100k plus push. Now, of course, at this point, it's anyone's guess what's going to happen. It can literally take one candle, one 10% candle, and you're there. I do think the moment you get like really close to it, so within like a few percent, it's not going to stop before. Like, I don't see this stopping out before like, or at like 97, 98. Like, if it wants to cool off for a bit, it should be around here and not at like 98k. I think at 98k it just makes a lot of sense to push through, and just the media hype and stuff that will happen the moment it breaks 100k. I think you would just shoot up to like 110, 120. Um, yeah, but for now, this is such a strong trend. It's up only basically, so I'm not gonna be able to say like, okay, we're probably gonna cool off here, we're gonna cool off there, because you can get like a 10% candle in a day, up or down, and it's just gonna change the entire story. All I can say is just stick to the trend. That's all you need to do. There's no need to short into these things. Of course, if you made like a lot of money, don't forget to pay yourself, shave off some profits. That's never a bad idea to do, especially when you've made a lot in a really short time. But besides that, this is looking good. We finally broke out after 8 month consolidation, and the future looks pretty bright. I am still assuming, I tweeted this out at some point, that from like the moment Trump won the presidency to his inauguration in January would probably be like the ideal time, because right now still the economy is strong. We don't know what Trump is going to deliver on from all the things he said. It might surprise us, but usually these things they'll either take time, or he doesn't. People don't follow up on everything. So right now you're like in this perfect spot where you have all these hopes and dreams, and people will just speculate, while there's like not any expectations of them happening just yet, because they simply can't, because he's not the president just yet. So with that said, I think it doesn't sound strange to me if we just keep running into like January, maybe a little bit after, like when he actually takes the role as president, and then depending, of course, on the news or the ideas they'll bring out in regards to the strategic reserve, etc. We might cool off for a bit. Like if there's nothing said about it for like a few weeks, people are gonna slowly get disappointed, because expectations are obviously very high. You might see a bit of a dip, um, but overall, I do still think 2025 should generally be trending up, and also think somewhere late 2025 should form the top. But that's all pretty early to say now, and it's gonna be difficult to assume where and when that might happen. But this thing, we'll just keep this on the chart. By now, you guys know we've just been opening this up every week. So far, it's been doing quite well. I really should look back in which stream. I think it was in the group, which has closed by now, by the way. But I think I did a stream there, and at some point right here, I just drew this out. Like, okay, consolidate a bit, then we'll break out and bear market. Yeah, gonna be interesting. I'll just keep this on there as long as it keeps being relatively accurate. Then we have total 2, still not to its cycle highs, but we did make a high in total market cap these past few days. So crypto itself, like as a whole, made a new all-time high, and not just Bitcoin. Of course, Bitcoin is carrying this entire thing. As I mean, you can see the difference between the market cap of the alts and the total market cap. It's a big difference, but yeah, I mean, we're well past the 3 trillion mark on the entire market cap, so that's a nice win. Then Ethereum, it finally broke out, of course. I mean, it didn't do too much this week. It underperformed yet again. I mean, this really needs something, like, I don't know what it needs at this point. Of course, this chart looks pretty good. Like, in terms of dollar valuation, it's decent, but you don't want to keep out or underperforming things like BTC. I do think at some point ETH is gonna run and it's gonna outperform, but it's gonna be one of the stupid like 1 or 2 week rallies out of nowhere, and it's gonna be nearly impossible to get in because it's probably just gonna shoot straight up and gonna be more of like a short squeeze, I'd say, instead of just like a really big longer term reversal. But we'll see. I always hold some of this long term. Obviously, it underperformed, but I don't know. I still like ETH as a chain. Like, I do use it a decent amount. Most of all these tokenization plans by these big companies like BlackRock, etc., they're still on Ethereum. Of course, this doesn't directly drive value to the token that much, but I don't know. I don't think the chain is dead. I think at some point we'll see a resurgence, but of course it's opportunity cost until then, so you'll probably be fine just waiting it out, and then whenever something really happens or like a catalyst comes up or the trend properly changes, then you can still get in afterwards. Because for now, Solana and Bitcoin, etc., they're all outperforming this by a long shot. Bitcoin dominance still trending up. Like it's all over the place. Like every now and then you get like a spike up in across the alt market. Of course, alts are popping left and right, but it's still not entire sector as a whole. For that, you really do need ETH or ETH BTC to go up. I do think at some point it will happen, and you'll get like a 5 to 10% dip on this at least, which will send alts soaring. I mean, if you were here in 2017 or in 2021, you know how that looks. When Bitcoin is in price discovery and alts are outperforming it, it just goes crazy. Like, you'll have all like a good part of the alts, although there are a lot of them, but like many of them will be up like 10-20% for maybe a few weeks on end. It's crazy. So that's when the real gains are made in altcoins, but it's also when the countdown starts, I'd say. So that's does mean you're in the later stage of the bull market, because at that point Bitcoin is in price discovery, probably keeps going for a while. Altcoins, like, people go down the risk curve, because let's say Bitcoin trades at 100k soon. At that point, people are also gonna, or new money is gonna say like, okay, well, it's already at 100k. What am I gonna make here? Like, maybe a 2x if I'm really lucky. And that's when they'll go down the risk curve and they'll buy ETH or buy Solana, they'll buy whatever. Or meme coins in this case, and that's what really fuels these rallies. Basically, when the upside on BTC isn't as attractive anymore in people's eyes, and also when there's this wealth effect from everyone holding BTC and Solana, whatever. Until that point, of course, they've made a lot of money, and they'll also see it as like, okay, I want to make more money, but I'm not going to make like another 10x on this coin. So I'll just buy this meme coin, I'll buy this coin. And that's how these alt seasons at some point happen. But usually it's a bit later on. So yes, enjoy once Bitcoin dominance comes down, but also be wary that that's usually like the last 6 to 12 months when that does happen. Then ETH, I mean, we talked about it. This thing has just been really, really sad. It's back to like, 2021 levels, but also basically where it traded in 2016, whatever. It really has to retake at least one of these levels. But for now, this is just a really sad trend down. And besides this one candle here, or like a few of these 2 weekly candles, it's just been down only ever since 2022 post the merge. So I mean, at some point it will show some strength and it might be good to hop on, but for now, I mean, this is just buying a falling knife. Then onto Solana, which is almost at all-time highs. So I mean, this looks really good. We've been watching this consolidation up here. It just broke out, made new cycle highs, and it's just a few percent away at this point from the all-time highs, like 8 or so. So, I mean, it's definitely gonna get there, I'd say. But the question is, how high will it go afterwards? But I do think, seeing how relatively early we are, well, not that early, but I do think the cycle has some time to go. Solana has been doing really well. All the meme coin mania is on there still. So I don't see how this wouldn't go to like, I don't know, I don't even want to name a target, but seeing it was 260 last cycle, it should be able to like get to like 400 plus or something. I don't know. At this point, I don't hold anything. I do hold some coins on Solana, but that's about it. I do kind of go in and out of this thing. I don't have like a longer term spot hold, although I should probably, but I don't know. It is what it is. Then we have XRP. Of course, you've all seen this one. I mean, it's been up, or from the bottom before the election to the recent top, it's up like 2.5x, which is pretty massive. It broke its cycle high. This thing up here, I still had to post the SEC case win by XRP. It shot up like 2x in a day. I think I was saying something like, okay, it's pretty fair price at this point relative to where BTC traded at. Well, that's oh yeah, because at this point people were calling for like $2 or whatever. But I was thinking, okay, it's pretty high up relatively speaking, so might be decent to take some profit. Well, ended up being that case, chopped around, but now of course the bull market properly starts, or like kind of alt season as well, and you get these kind of moves. Let's say it does come down to like 90 cents, would be a decent area to watch, I'd say, and then maybe can go from there. But I always have like a hard time valuing this thing. It's like a pure retail coin. I don't like the project itself. I do see why it pumps. Like it's so good. Like it's the bank coin. Everyone is gonna use it for their payments. But if you go on like crypto Twitter, for example, no one basically talks about it. It's like purely retail driven. And of course, there's institutions, etc., that front run this shit. But yeah, it's an interesting coin. I always find it funny that it's still around and it's always pumping in the bull market. Not as much as the first one in 2017, but it's there. Yeah, I mean, keep an eye on it. Could be good to trade, but I'm not touching this personally. Then something I am touching is GOAT. So this is, of course, the AI meme coin thing. It's one of the first ones that actually made sense in my head. Like, I've been trading in and out of this probably from like 20 cents. Would have been better off just holding it, honestly. Did get a decent trade in here the past few days, but at this point I just hold some spot, tiny long, and I do hope to see this at like at least 2 billion relatively soon. Of course, these valuations make no sense, but we're well past that point already, especially with these memes. If you look at things like Peanut, for example, which is a scroll, it already went to like 2 billion. And this thing itself, it started like an entire new meta or sector. And for me, as like, I do dabble in meme coins here and there, but I'm not like deep in the trenches. But this thing just made sense. Like, it's the bridge between the AI and the meme coin sector, which have both been leading this entire cycle. This thing, obviously, it's still there's a human that actually posts the tweets, but it's his terminal that puts out all these crazy tweets and words and stories, pictures, whatever. It's just going to be an infinite source of content. Yes, people will get bored of it, but for now, I just think it's a decent narrative. And relatively speaking to some of these meme coins, this one is much more special. I think it has more staying power. Still need to get a Binance spot listing. I would assume that happens at some point, seeing all the shit that gets listed there from like, I don't know, 20 million market caps, for example. So I'm not sure when it's gonna get listed. It's on futures, but that's about it for Binance. I don't know. This thing just makes sense, and the trend is strong. So I'm just gonna stick with this until it really shows weakness or it gets to some outrageous amount. But would not be surprised, like over the entire cycle, to see this thing run up to like a few billion at least. I mean, it's already at 1.2 at this point, but these things can move quick. I mean, we just saw Dogecoin go from like 20 to 60 billion or something in 1 or 2 weeks. So there's definitely ample liquidity to push these things up. Obviously, I mean, this remains a new coin. It's super volatile. You can see here, like these 4 hour candles are all like 10, 20% ish sometimes. So keep that in mind. That's why usually with these things, if you want to dabble into them, I'd say stick with spot and have a plan for them as well. So you're not holding these things down, because you can see even here, like throughout this massive trend up, basically, you had a drawdown of 70% here, you had a drawdown of 55% here, and even here in between, while it was testing these all-time highs, you get all these 20, 30% drawdowns. You have to be able to stomach those to hold on to these. So I'd always suggest, like, if you want to get into them, just go small size. Like, if they go, they go. You'll probably get like a multiple anyways. So there's no need to size really large on them unless you've got like insane conviction, of course. But I'd say stick with the smaller size on these kind of things. That way, you won't be too worried about them dumping like 50% overnight, because they can, and you'll be fine, and the gains will be good anyways, even if you size smaller, because the multiples are likely to be larger as well. Then the way this was trending up, like testing these all-time highs again and again and again, kind of still waiting for like the proper breakout. Of course, it's still grinding up, but usually these kind of things in bull markets end up with something like this. Of course, this is insane. We've been following, or I've been holding some mantra or whatever you want to call it, from like, I don't know, first started talking about it early this year. I don't hold nearly as much as I should probably, but this recent move is just insane. I think there's a lot of money from the Middle East behind this. We have kind of been making this project our own. It's by far the biggest RWA project right now. I think it's like a 3 billion market cap coin. It's fully diluted valuation. I think it's a little bit smaller than Ondo, but Ondo got this massive unlock coming up soon. Still think that's a really cool project as well, but the tokenomics just work in Om's or Mantra's favor at this point, and I think that might be why this has squeezed up so much. I don't know, it's insane. It's gonna be scary buying here, and I'd say if you've been in this ride with me all this time, definitely take some profit here and there, scale some off, but also learn from me selling as well throughout this range too early, because obviously since then it's up so much more. But I guess that's the bull market for you. These things always happen, and you'll never know. You'll always sell something too early. But yeah, crazy move. I mean, I think this is up like at least 5x from when we first started talking about it. So crazy, really, and especially where it came from. Like, I wasn't even early. There's people that are in this from, what is this, like 2 cents or something. That's insane. Like, this is generally one of the biggest runners this cycle. When we go over on regular chart, like, look at this. You can't even see the candles down here. Yeah, it was like at like 2 cents. And of course, when you see this, like, don't be sad at this at all. Like, I was decently early, but you see how these things go. I sold a lot in this range. I don't hold nearly what I had throughout this area. You still at this point, you're already late. Like, there's people that are up 30x at this point already, so you see all these stories about people being up like 100 200x or whatever on these meme coins, etc., but you don't see the losses. You'll have to imagine, like, how are you gonna hold through this, like, let's say 100x run. It's pretty damn hard. Like, I can do it personally. When I'm up a good amount, I'm happy to take profits and just close it off. There's so many things and pitfalls you go through before you can actually pocket a full 100x. It's very difficult. So really don't be too harsh on yourself if you see all these things and you're like, oh, how can I do this? Because it's really hard. Like, unless you're lucky and you buy something and it's overnight, it's up 100x while you were sleeping, for example, and then it's easy to hold through it. But that's besides that, it's really hard. Even these people that hold on to these, they got like balls of steel because it's gonna be difficult stomaching all those corrections in between. Moving on, stacks. I think it's an interesting spot. It's well above this high volume area and the daily 200 MA EMA. They did have their Nakamoto activation, which cuts the block times from 10 minutes to 10 seconds. Do you think that will help the ecosystem, like kind of get kickstarted a bit? But I would want to see this grind back to basically its all-time highs. It should be relatively easy to fill up this gap here between like 2-ish and 280-ish. This was also the same previous all-time high up here. Yeah, so I just want to see this continue to trend. I mean, we had the impulse higher, we got the higher low. Now we just need to keep the momentum going. Nero, also requested by you guys. Of course, this is also one of those things that has just been trending up, and it's up quite a lot in the past 2 months. But also here, massive corrections in between. So, I mean, so far, as long as this big trend sustains somewhat, I'd say these things are good to trade around with or hold, whatever. I don't hold any of this. I've never traded this. But if it can form like a higher low around here, it is golden pocket FIP zone and the 4-hour 200 MA EMA. I think this is a decent zone. First, like sweep these lows once more and then move from there. I might even just set an alert on this, for example. Would be a decent trade, I'd say, but let's see how it does. Phantom, decent place as well. Kind of in the middle of nowhere in this massive, like this was a range low for a while here. And then this level has been pretty influential in the past. So it's kind of middle of nowhere. But if this can break back above like $1, then you can pretty easily fill this gap up higher. And that's where things really accelerate. So that's a level to watch. Near, kind of the same thing as Phantom. Looks a bit different, of course. Trying to break above this horizontal area. Did break above the 200 MA EMA. This got the AI narrative behind it. Did recently buy or invested into a bag of this, as I do think this is one of those bigger caps that will get to its cycle high relatively soon if the market keeps being bullish. And as well, like I'd be pretty excited if this can break above like this $9 region, because up here it's like pretty thin. There's not much traded around here, especially not recently. Like you can see, if you were to break above this cycle high, you could get this expansion up here pretty easily, I'd say. And that's when things really start accelerating. And you might even be able to get to these autumn highs from like, to be fair, this topped out pretty late. Like they're still high here in April 2022. That's when most things were already pretty far down in the bear market. So I think this is doable. But let's try to get to that $9 level first. Then Arbitrum has been super dead, but yesterday had like a 20% candle. It's now right at the range low, daily 200 MA EMA. So for now, not too exciting just yet. I would want to see this break here, and that would be confirmation of a bigger trend reversal for me. But good to see some signs of life here. But for now, it's right into resistance. Atom, kind of the same thing. Looks a bit more decent, I'd say, but would also just want to see this being held and ideally like find some support above like $6 and then go from there. But all these things, like they're trying to come back from the dead. I generally try to stick with strength, for example. Yes, this thing can do like a 2x out of nowhere, but still, this looks so nice, just ready to break all-time highs and probably expand. I don't know, I'd stick with strength. These things are a bit dead, things like Atom and Arbitrum as we speak. Of course, if they change that around and there's some big incentives or campaigns they run, whatever, it can go on a decent run for like a few weeks. But generally speaking, I'd say try to stick with the strength. That's basically it. With had a decent run, of course, because Solana is nearly all-time high. I would say it's underperforming a bit, seeing Solana is up like 10% today, and this is up 4%, so shows some signs of weakness. Would want to see this find acceptance above 4 and then go for the all-time highs. Of course, I think some of the underperformance here is because it ran up a lot the past few days because of the Coinbase listing, if I say correct. Pepe also got a Coinbase listing and a Robinhood listing, so those coins have been running on the back of it. Um, so yeah, I mean, obviously it's up a lot this week, so doesn't mean much that it's underperforming a bit now compared to Solana because just needs some cooling off. Then Clearpool, every week I've just been adding one or two of these. Like it's a higher high into a higher low. It just keeps going, keeps going. We did take out this 27 cents level, or roughly 27 cents. But still, this trend sustains, and as long as that happens, I am just expecting this to go higher. I'd say this sweep is a bit weak, seeing it just keeps grinding back up. So I'd say on the next attempt, it will probably just break through, and we might even see pretty like a bit of faster acceleration up here because the air up here is super thin, and it would leave the way open to this like let's say 40 cents region, which is just a cycle high because obviously last cycle this thing it launched pretty close to the top, had like a big run up to 260. So yeah, obviously when this does break 40 cents, it can really get going. But for now, let's see. For now, this is gearing up pretty nicely. Like honestly, this is usually when these parabolic bases are built. For now, you just need to find some acceleration and break these local highs. Lastly, Peer or Vulcan Forge still think this thing is just gearing up for like a random 1-2 week mega candle. We already saw coins like Mana and Sand, all these metaverse coins, do quite well recently. I think a lot of it is because there's a good amount of retail from 2021 that came back. Coinbase ranking was, I think, ninth, which is the highest it has been this cycle, I think. So that really shows you, and this really confirms, of course, because coins like XRP running, ADA running, um, even Luna was running, and of course Cent and Mana, which were all coins that did really well in 2021. So that also shows you that these people that are not completely new, but they've just been out of the market, and now they see things like Doge pumping, Bitcoin all-time high, so they come back, and they'll instantly flock back to their previous holdings or things they know that did well last time. So I think that can also help here with Peer, for example, and just the gamify sector in general. But until like we properly see a trend form, I'm just keeping it slow on these and just keep monitoring them. So when they do really start running, you can still hop on the trend and catch a good amount of it. All right, I think this was a pretty long one, but we had a lot of coins to talk about, but that's no issue. I think this was a decent update on the overall market. For now, no short-term predictions on all these things. Trend is up. If we get like some major dip, I'll be looking to add or get in on longs or something. But generally, I'm just sticking in my spot holdings, riding this out, and when things get really crazy, I'll start taking profits again. Maybe in Q1 if we go really high already. But I mean, I do think we'll get a good amount to go. Although, of course, there will be dips along the way, but predicting those is always pretty hard. So for now, sticking with the trend, and that's pretty much it. Wishing you all a good week ahead, and take care. Bye bye.